The Raiders are headed into enemy territory. But are they really? Raider Nation owns LA. Can the Raiders defense stop Keenan Allen and the Chargers' high-flying offense? And who will be throwing to Jakobi Meyers if Jimmy Garoppolo can't go? The Raiders receiver stops by the Silver and Black Show. It starts right now. It's a play-by-play kind of day here on the Silver and Black Show as two of the best in the business join us. Kevin Harlan of CBS and Matt Money Smith of the Chargers Radio Network, getting ready to break down a big AFC West rivalry. Welcome into the Silver and Black Show, everybody. I'm Amber Theoharis. The 1-2 Raiders are getting ready for a divisional matchup with the 1-2 Chargers. The usual suspects like Davante Adams and Max Crosby continue to dominate. And as NBC's Chris Collinsworth said, it's crazy that we have these flashes of how good the Raiders offense can be. But there's no consistency. And the Raiders' back-to-back losses come down to a basic math problem. You can't give the ball away more than you take it away. And right now, the Raiders are tied for last in the NFL in turnover differential. So Sunday, whether Jimmy Garoppolo is playing or not, protecting the football will be priority number one. And against Justin Herbert and the second-ranked Chargers offense, the Raiders' defense will need to be, well, the definition of a Raider, a person who steals and takes property that isn't theirs. To talk about the matchup, we welcome in the man who will be calling the game on CBS, a good friend of mine, play-by-play announcer, Kevin Harlan. Kevin, so good to see you, my friend. Thanks for joining the Silver and Black Show.
Amber, thank you. You know, you're one of my favorite. Thank you for the invitation. I'm excited to. I saw the Raiders a couple weeks ago in Buffalo, and that didn't turn out too well. And I'd like to think here as we get closer to that kind of invisible line, which is week 5 and 6, when a coach really knows what he has in his team, that they'll make this nice little turnaround. I think people still expect a lot of things from the Raiders. I know I am, and I think this will be a good game Sunday in Los Angeles.
As you said, it's not just the Raiders. It's kind of been a weird start to the NFL season. I mean, one minute the Cowboys were going to the Super Bowl, and then last week they lose to the Arizona Cardinals. It's been a bunch of those kind of games. What can we glean from the Raiders' slow start when we look around at the unpredictable nature of the NFL, especially this season?
Yeah, you've talked about the takeaways, the turnovers. Those are all things that clearly need to be addressed, and I know they are. I know that they'd like to see Jimmy kind of spread the ball out a little bit more too. And I know he's got two, terrific receivers in Jakobi and Davante, but there are some other players there. I think they're trying to clearly develop the tight end and see if they can find the next Darren Waller, perhaps, or someone that will have that kind of impact on a game. I sense that they're close. In that game against Buffalo that we did a couple weeks ago, they marched on their first possession right downfield and looked sharp. And that was the Raider team we were all kind of expecting to see this season. Clearly, it has not been that way. There's been a little bit of turbulence. They do have a win, and I think they hang their hat on that. It's nice to know that you can get back to 500 with a win this weekend. Chargers are playing well, but I still think the best football for the Raiders is ahead of them. And clearly, the key is going to be Josh getting back to what he was. We know the Jacobs will be there eventually. But it's taken some time. He's a little rusty, clearly, with his performance so far.
Yeah, I know Raider Nation is looking forward to getting Josh Jacobs going on the ground. I want to talk a little bit about the Chargers offense. I mean, this has been a high-powered offense, and they've done it the last 2 games without Austin Eckler. We don't know if he's going to play in this game or not. But is this a chance, especially if he doesn't play, for the Raiders to exploit maybe a predictable passing offense? I mean, that's all they've been doing the past couple of weeks without Austin Eckler.
It seems that they have relied more on the arm of Justin Herbert. Eckler does so much, right? He can play a slot receiver. He can block as well as anyone. We know he can run, and we know he can score. So he fills a lot of different categories for that team. I think it's safe to say there is not another Eckler in back of him. He's a very special guy. He's led the league in touchdowns the last couple of years. In Herbert, they've got a very special quarterback. He's got a powerful arm, but with great accuracy. And that combination is pretty hard to find. We've got some very accurate quarterbacks. We have some very powerful arms, but rarely does that one quarterback possess both. And he is one of those guys that does. So that's why I think they lean on that arm so much. He's got, Allen. They lost Mike Williams. They got a number 1 draft pick that's going to step in for him. They've got enough depth and talent at wide receiver. Their line is healthy. And with no Eckler, I think you're on to something, Amber. I think that we're even going to see more balls in the air, certainly from that offense and Justin Herbert.
One thing we know for Brandon Staley and Kellen Moore, all territory is 4-down territory. How does this change the way that you've seen defensive coordinators approach the game when they're playing the Chargers?
Sub packages are such a big part of the game, and I think maybe coordinators are not second guessing, not reanalyzing, but perhaps adjusting a little bit the sub packages, knowing that the Chargers are a 4-down offense, regardless of where they are on the field. And the odds say you're better doing it that way than trying to punt on 4th and short. If you've got the kind of field position that would lead you down that road, why not go for it? Why not get an extra play? So it's one play that Justin Herbert won't have the ball in his hand, or another quarterback like him in the league. And so I think these coordinators look at a lot of different things, but perhaps the sub packages, I think they may bring it back just a little bit and play a 1-down lineman or a 1-down linebacker. They may play them a couple downs, or maybe even 3. They may extend that play on the field, knowing that the normal 3rd down of the NFL is kind of like now the 4th down. Like they'll make sure that they've got the versatility to handle whatever may come their way on 4th down. But it can tax a defense, and it certainly throws another thought in the mind of these defensive coordinators going up against a Staley offense that has that kind of philosophy.
You've seen many rookie pass rushers in your career. Where does the rookie Tyree Wilson for the Raiders measure up right now?
Well, I think we've clearly yet to see just how effective he can be. The foot injury, certainly in preseason, took some valuable snaps away from the rookie. That being said, if you look at his measurements, if you look at, his history, if you look at how they're using him in this defense and how he can play off Max on the other side, there is a lot there to really appreciate. Clearly the best is ahead for him. I think in that position, as it is with a lot of young defensive linemen, especially ones that are on the edge and not the interior, they're going up against some pretty smart tackles and some pretty good chip blockers coming out of the backfield. And it's a different game than it is in college. And he's going to have to adjust and learn, but he's got Max on the other side, who to me is he's a student. He's a vigorous defensive teammate. He has all the skills you want in that position. He has got an endless motor, boundless energy. He's someone that you're constantly, if you're on the offense, having to account for. He tilts their protection toward him. So I see, great opportunity ahead here. And I would like to think that as the season goes on, watch a lot of Max, you learn a lot from one of the best in the business. It may come sooner than later for Raider fans.
On the other side, with the Chargers, you got the rookie pass rusher, the number 54 overall pick that's looking pretty good in Tuli Pulotu. I hope you don't have to say that name too many times, because it would be against the Raiders, and that's not a good name to say over and over. But Kevin, I know you would nail that one. One last question. Thoughts on the AFC West in general thus far?
Chiefs are the Chiefs. I think that the Chiefs' biggest enemy right now is themselves. I think there's some mental fatigue from the succession of Super Bowls, the 2 wins, the 3 appearances in the last 4 years. So clearly they fight all the things that, are human nature, right? Maybe some complacency, some trying to get to that same level you were last year with the way you performed, the way you prepared, the way you approach things, your focus. They've got the right voice in their head in Andy Reid, who tries to keep things fresh, but it's tough. That's why we have very few repeat champions in this league. And it's hard just to repeat, just to get to the game. And the Chiefs have done that, like I said, 3 out of the last 4 years, but they will be what we think they are here in the next couple of weeks. I believe that, they showed a little bit against the Bears. They got the Jets this weekend on Sunday night. I think they're a given. It's who's going to be under them. I think people are picking the Chargers and Raiders to kind of fill that slot. Chargers right now may have a little momentum after the win in the Twin Cities over the Vikings. Raiders are finding their footing. Broncos, I just saw them this past week in Miami, Amber, and I can't put my finger on it. They seem to have some talent at various positions, and yet the performance is one that tells you it's a team in rebuild mode. And I know that Sean Payton is not looking at this first year there as a Bronco head coach, in that way. He is thinking they could compete, but boy, they have, and the Raiders got them one game. The Broncos are hard to figure out, and they have the Bears this week. That's going to be an interesting game.
Yeah, I don't think a lot of people are looking forward to that one. Kevin, hey, at least you're not calling that one. You're calling the Raiders and the Chargers. We can't wait to see you out there. Safe travels from the Midwest over to LA. And hey, young students, watch Kevin Harlan if you want to be a play-by-play announcer. He sets the bar, and it's so great to catch up with you. Thank you.
Yeah, great to see you. Great to hear you. As I said, I'm such a fan, and you're sure nice to have me on your show, Amber, and we'll see you down the road.
Anytime. We'll see you down the road. Coming up next, in just 2 games as a Raider, Jakobi Meyers has made a big impact on the offense. Can he exploit what has been a weak Chargers pass defense this Sunday? The Raiders receiver is next on the Silver and Black Show. The Silver and Black Show is brought to you by Cox, proud partner of the Las Vegas Raiders. Allegiant, the official airline of the Las Vegas Raiders. Low fares, nonstop flights. Book now only at Allegiant.com. 1800, the best taste in tequila and official partner of the Raiders.
These traditions go back a long ways, and that there's a lot of pride in each franchise, and there's going to be a lot of energy in the stadium. All the division games, there's just a different caliber energy.
We know that they're a very good football team, and so we have to do our best to have a good week of practice because we know what they're capable of, so we've got to be at our best come Sunday.
There's a big body of work with Brian Hoyer being in their system, and it's several different locations, twice in New England and now being in Las Vegas.
He's one of the best at what he does, and he's definitely one of those guys you have to be aware of whenever he's on the field.
Certainly with this group, with the same head coach, we've played these guys and they've played us, and so it's going to be a really big time environment on Sunday.
Welcome back. It's early, but the receiving duo of Davante Adams and Jakobi Meyers is catching people's attention. This Sunday, they face a Chargers pass defense that ranks last in the NFL. To talk about the matchup, we say hello to one half of that tandem, Raiders receiver Jakobi Meyers. Jakobi, thanks so much for joining us. It's been great to see you back out there, especially last week. You have definitely been a bright spot in this offense. What has allowed you to be so productive in this system?
I would say it's a team effort for sure. I mean, the coaches, the players on the team, having Tay definitely been a big help too. I know everybody worried about him, so I mean the whole offensive unit, we kind of work together well, and we're just trying to build on every day.
You mentioned Davante, 172 yards against the Steelers last week, but clearly your presence is felt. How do you guys complement each other?
Like I said, I mean he a special guy, so he's gonna go out there and do what he got to do and draw a lot of attention. So when I get those one-on-one battles, I got to capitalize on them, go out there and make the best plays I can, and just keep being me every day.
Keep being you, and you'll take the safety off of him, and he won't be in double coverage. Well, Jimmy Garoppolo is in concussion protocol. We don't know if he's going to be able to play Sunday, and it's not clear if it will be Aiden O'Connell or Brian Hoyer if he can't go. So how do you prepare throughout the week with so many unknowns?
The same, honestly. We still got to lace them up and go out there and prepare every day the same way. We don't know who's going to be either, but I know we're going to have a good time when we're out there. We're going to still go out there and help them make plays.
The Chargers defense has struggled, so you have a chance to probably make some plays. Just last week, they gave up over 360 yards to Kirk Cousins and the Vikings. Is this an opportunity to exploit what has been a weak Chargers pass defense so far?
Well, I can't really speak too much on a defense like that, but I do know it's an opportunity for us to go out there and be better than we were last week. I feel like we left a lot of plays on the field last week, so hopefully we can use this time as an opportunity to get better.
One of the areas to get better in for sure is the offensive line. They gave up 4 sacks after 2 games where they kept Jimmy upright and had some clean games. How much emphasis has been placed in practice this week on not allowing pass rushers like Joey Bosa and the rookie Tully to wreck this game?
Oh, that's a different meeting. I'm only in there with the receivers. They talk to me about catching the ball and running good routes. You know, I got a lot of trust in the O-line. I know they want to be better too. So I'm hoping they go out there, they do their job. I go out there, do my job, and everybody happy.
All right, that was a good answer. I know that's a good team answer, but everyone knows. Let's talk about a different position, though. Everyone knows Josh Jacobs, when he gets going, this offense moves the chains. How important is it to get the run game going early, especially knowing how much that opens up the pass game for you guys?
Nah, you hit it right on the head, honestly. It's super important. We got to get him going, got to get him moving down the field, because like you said, it just make it easier for us. So you get that rolling, get everybody working on the same accord, we should be all right.
Well, Jakobi, you've been such an amazing addition to this offense. We can't wait to see you guys get back on track out against the Chargers.
Appreciate you.
Coming up on the Silver and Black Show, Chargers radio announcer Matt "Money" Smith comes to the dark side to talk Justin Herbert, the Chargers' slow start, and more.
Great rivalries. Another big part about being in this building. You know, the fans want to compare Kansas City, Denver, San Diego, now LA. But this is a big one that launched the Raiders into the wild card and big postseason wins.
Yeah, this is obviously got a lot of history to it, and a lot of great players have played in this rivalry. And now that it's moved back to LA, you know, I got the my first opportunity last year to witness this. Our fan base really kind of take their stadium and. You know, I mean, it had to be more than 50-50. You know, it was a big Raider following there, which, you know, I'm kind of learning LA, I think we might be the favorite team there. So
for the full interview of Josh McDaniels with JT the Brick, visit Raiders.com or the Raiders official YouTube page. Welcome back, everybody. Everyone knows the Las Vegas Raiders used to be the Los Angeles Raiders. And this weekend, the Silver and Black head on the road, but it won't exactly feel like enemy territory. Our next guest can attest to that. He's the man calling the game for the Chargers radio network, good friend of mine, Matt "Money" Smith. And Matt, you know, I know this is a rivalry, but you have to be honest. You've covered these games before. Are you expecting a little bit of a Silver and Black takeover at SoFi?
Well, look, there's still a ton of Raider fans in Los Angeles, no doubt about it. And, you know, it's an opportunity for them to go see their favorite team in their backyard. So, yes, there's going to be a lot of Raider fans. And God help me with the stupid Raider chant that I hate hearing. It drives me crazy. Exactly. I'm going to hear a lot of that. But I'll say this, Amber, it's changed dramatically. Like, since there's two things that happened. One, they moved into SoFi. So instead of having 26,000 seats, that are going for a huge number, you've got 70,000 seats. So it's much more balanced. And Justin Herbert. Like, Justin Herbert has been a massive difference for this franchise in this market. There are so many number 10 jerseys now cruising around town at SoFi that it's helped incredibly. I mean, it's balanced it out. I would expect it to be like a 50-50 crowd, which is still not great for the home team, but you know, it used to be an 80-20 crowd. So it's gotten a lot better. And I think those two things, one, the stadium, and two, the fact that Justin's a superstar and they have, you know, a franchise quarterback that everybody can come out to see every week.
Yeah, he's top 3 statistically for quarterbacks in the NFL right now. And one of the big reasons for that was Keenan Allen had a career day against the Vikings. Now, if you look at the Raiders defense, the Raiders corners typically don't travel. So how do you see that matchup playing out?
Well, last week I thought it was his best day as a pro, right? He ends up going for 18 catches, 215 yards, both career highs. But it was the way Brian Flores opted to play it. You know, they blitzed Justin on over 80% of his dropbacks. I think 41 of 50. They brought more, and it was not just 5. They brought 6, they brought 7. And Keenan's just such a good route runner that he was able to get his quick first break in, flash open. Justin would deliver the ball quickly. He also flashed in the middle of the field open. There were defensive issues. So I would suspect, like you said, that the Raiders corners aren't going to travel. If they're going to single him, he's probably going to do some damage. Without Mike Williams, I would expect him to get a little bit more attention, which I'm guessing means that it's going to be a Josh Palmer game. And Quentin Johnston's going to have to grow up in a hurry. You know, he's been very slowly brought along. They've talked about developing him. It's a long-term project at wide receiver, but he's the exact same body type as Mike Williams. They need him, so he's going to be thrust into this. And instead of getting 12 snaps per game, he's probably looking at 35 to 40.
Well, time to step up, rookie. That's just the way it works in the NFL. Does it look like Austin Eckler's going to suit up? He hasn't played the last couple of games.
Well, I'll tell you, you know, if the injury report is any indication, it's a good sign. He went from DNPs the last 2 weeks, all of practice, to limited. So he did say with the bye here, that it won't affect his decision. I think it will. I think, if the bye wasn't here, he might play at, 60, 70%. But with the bye, I think the idea is, you know what, if I'm not quite right, let's go ahead and give it 2 more weeks and then really come back 100% because they've got a rough schedule post-bye. It's a bummer they have the bye so early. They've got Cowboys at home, followed by Chiefs on the road on a short week after the Monday Nighters. So I wouldn't be surprised if he's not feeling great if he sits this one out.
You know what's been remarkable about this Chargers offense is they continue to put about 30 points a game up, even without Austin Eckler. Why hasn't the offense missed a beat despite not a whole lot of ground game?
I think 2 words, Justin Herbert. Last week they needed a win. They were 0-2. You cannot start a season 0-3. And he just said, put it on my back. I mean, he was under pressure on, like I said, every drop back, climbed the pocket, ran the ball, got rid of it quickly. Kellen Moore called a brilliant game. I think the 2 of them are really starting to establish something special. So to me, and I think the other thing, Amber, like when you look at the overall numbers, they're still like top 10 in rushing yards per game, but it's because they rushed for so many yards in the Miami game because that's what Vic Fangio gave them. He ran a 2-high shell. It was a light box. They ran right into it for over 200 yards. Last week, they were blitzing like crazy. They were flooding the run lanes, and they used that quick pass game as like an extended run. So Kellen, I think a big part of it is really Kellen Moore. He has been absolutely fantastic. And what I've noticed too, just real quick, Amber's, he's not just calling plays off a play sheet. It's not like, oh, I like this play on 2nd and 6. He's setting you up. He set up the Vikings masterfully for that double pass touchdown with all those tunnel screens. And he had run like 2 of them the previous 5 plays. So they throw the backwards pass to Keenan. Safety sucks in thinking they're going to get blocked. And there's Mike Williams flashing. We've seen that in every game, him setting an opponent up.
Yeah, I'm just taking those notes. I'm sending them to Patrick Graham. That was a great breakdown of what's going to happen. Hey, let's switch it over to the Raiders offense. Last time Josh Jacobs saw the Chargers in December of last year, he ran for 144 yards. But Davante Adams has actually been the Raider that's been cooking lately. Who do you think Brandon Staley circles first and say, this is who can't beat us today?
That's a great question. I don't know because, he's been beaten by both and by each. So, I'll say this, like to me, there's the number of the game. If the Chargers want to win is 32. That is Davante Adams' long reception for the year. They cannot allow him to go over that. Explosive plays have crushed this team. It crushed them again. Look, they had the ball down 2 with an opportunity to win against Miami. They had the ball 3rd and goal from the 4 with a chance to beat Tennessee. Like, they're in these games. The reason why they're losing them is explosive plays. 70 yards to Treylon Burks, 200-plus receiving yards to Tyreek Hill. Last week, 53-yard touchdown to Justin Jefferson. So it's Davante Adams. Like, you can't allow those explosive plays after your defense is playing solid, down in, down out. They've got teams behind the sticks, and then bang, here's a 36-yard touchdown to KJ Osborne on a 4th and 6. Like, that's what's really crushed this team this year.
Yeah, just weird things like J.C. Jackson, a healthy scratch. So a lot of questions in that secondary going on. Let's talk about the Chargers' offensive line. They gave up 7 sacks so far this year. Yet Justin Herbert, we keep talking about how productive he continues to be. But do you think this might be an opportunity for Max Crosby and Tyree Wilson to get going in the pass rush?
I'd say probably no. It's been a really strong unit. They face some really good teams, right? When it comes to pass rush, you've got Danielle Hunter, who's a perennial Pro Bowler. And really that strip sack was the only sack we had last week. So you go before that, and Harold Landry didn't have a great game, but Jeffrey Simmons just wrecked it in the middle of that defensive line for Tennessee. Arden Key came into that game with 14 pressures against New Orleans. He had 1. And the difference, Amber's been Rashawn Slater. So now Rashawn's been limited this week. He's dealing with an ankle. If he's 100%, that's going to be fun. I know people don't, they're not going to get too excited about an O-line, D-line matchup, but if you get Max Crosby versus Rashawn Slater, you very well could be watching the best left tackle in football and the best pass rusher in football. And, may the best man win. So as long as he's 100%, they can shift help running back, tight end to the other side of the line with Trey Pipkins, and I think do okay. And by the way, thank God Clelin Ferrell's not there anymore, because the only team he played well against was the Chargers. I'm not kidding. I think he had like 6 career sacks, and like 5 of them were against the Chargers.
Yeah, well, he's not there anymore. But Max Crosby has been lighting it up like he normally does. Yeah. You mentioned Kellen Moore. He kind of embraced the whole Brandon Staley, go for it on 4th down. I mean, they'll take their chances on the 24-yard line in their own territory, which is risky. Have you seen other teams exploit this?
Well, I saw the Raiders do it 2 years ago in Week 18. Remember, they went for it deep in their own territory.
The reason the Chargers didn't make the playoffs, yeah.
Exactly. So, you know, I'll be honest, Amber, I loved the call. Like, I loved Brandon Staley that first year. You know, you've got Justin Herbert and Mike Williams and Keenan Allen and Austin Eckler, and you've got a defense that right now is ranked 29th in the league. Like, who do you want to go win you the game? And we're watching it right now. I just didn't like the play. You know, I don't know why you're handing off to Joshua Kelly on a fullback dive when he weighs 205 pounds, when you have Justin Herbert at 6'6", 250, sitting under center 2 feet away from winning the game. So to me, those are things that are probably being worked out this week. They went for it on 4th down and got a touchdown out of it to Donald Parham, you know, which ends up being the difference in the game. So it works both ways. But if you ask me what I like, I prefer the aggressiveness. I prefer to put the ball in Justin Herbert's hands and win or lose with number 10 than a defense that's given up 29 explosive plays so far this season.
I get it. And it looks like the Raiders are just going to have to come up big on 4th down in those cases. Hey, Matt, it's so good to catch up with you, Money. I know you're going to catch a couple waves out there in L.A. before the game. I wish I could be out there with you, but we'll have you on again soon.
Absolutely. Loved it. Anytime, Amber.
All right, thanks. Coming up next, he is the one man that continues to be steady for the Raiders. We're giving our flowers to Davante Adams coming up next. The Silver and Black Show has been brought to you by Cox, proud partner of the Las Vegas Raiders. Allegiant, the official airline of the Las Vegas Raiders. Low fares, non-stop flights. Book now only at Allegiant.com. Chevron with Techron gives you unbeatable cleaning and mileage. Chevron, together ahead.
Mayer, the tight end, motion to the right side. Garoppolo, play action just as you call it. Clean pocket, lobs downfield for Adams. Backhand grabs, falls into the end zone. Touchdown Raiders! He was facing the line as he caught it, fell on his keister, and landed in the end zone. On a 4th and short, the Raiders strike for a 31-yard touchdown.
Welcome back. Raider Nation, let's end with something good, because I know it's been a rough week. Buried in all the noise surrounding the Raiders offense is the fact that Davante Adams continues to be that dude. Let's give the man his flowers. He came to Vegas trying to prove that he didn't need Aaron Rodgers and ended up posting over 1,500 receiving yards last year. Enter Jimmy Garoppolo. In the past 2 weeks, Adams is averaging 128 yards a game with 3 touchdowns. This in an offense that has yet to score 20 points in a game. It doesn't matter who is throwing to him. Davante just finds a way to make it happen. A fact Chargers head coach Brandon Staley knows very well.
You know, and I think he has the full respect of every coach and player in the league and fan. He's a very complete receiver, outstanding at the line of scrimmage against press, can play anywhere inside, in the slot, outstanding level 2 movement, just a multi-cut route runner, can beat you deep, can get the explosions in the deep part of the field, really good after the catch, really high football IQ, has really outstanding body control. And, you know, there's a reason why he has earned all the honors and the respect of everyone, because, and then, you know, how he competes too. So very, very, very complete football player.
Speaking of honors, last week Davante moved to number 5 on the list of players with the most touchdowns in their first 10 years in the league. Look at that. Jerry Rice, Terrell Owens, Marvin Harrison, Randy Moss. That is not bad company to keep. And this week, he faces one of the worst passing defenses in the NFL. Kirk Cousins of the Vikings just dropped 360 passing yards on the Chargers defense last week. Yes, Davante could be poised for another big game, but clearly he needs some help. The Raiders need to be better in all 3 phases. But when something is going right and one man continues to set the standard week after week, that deserves to be recognized. That'll do it for this edition of the Silver and Black Show. I'm Amber Theoharis. Reminder, kickoff is set for 1:05 Pacific from SoFi Stadium. You know the Silver and Black will be taking over LA. We'll see you right here after the game for all your post-game analysis on Raiders Game Day. Have a great weekend, everyone.